What's up, Black Comic Lords? Once again, you're on with another dope episode of Stormwatch, episode 6, Thundercloud, written by the great Maria Ayudeli. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It felt really good seeing issue 6. For some reason, I don't know. My mind still felt like we're seeing like the early issues, like maybe like 1, 2. So it's like okay, I think we're halfway to 12 issues, so that's good.
You ain't half step on this one. I gotta admit, you brought the thunder on this one. This was a dope issue, man. I haven't seen a single negative comment on the internets yet. In Twitter, the vile pool of toxicity that even Twitter had nothing negative to say about this issue. That's outstanding.
You say so.
Antoine, how you doing, bro?
I'm good. Hanging
All
in
right.
there. Yeah.
Let's H, what's up to the chat? Hey, let's see who we got here. Bobby Blue said y'all never stop on. Man, come on, man. All this takes time. Takes time to bring you this dope content. Sometimes we have some technical glitches, but we're here and we're out to do God's work. All right, Moody Reese, thank you. Moody Reese was the first one in the building. Before we get started, please, everyone, hit the like button. I will pause the show until everybody here hits the like button. Share this video if you can, please, on your social media. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, why not? Go ahead. It's free. Subscribe to the channel and you'll always be cognizant of when we do this dope show. Okay, let's get into it. Dr. Wizard, if you would. Let's do a recap.
Of dope, you're looking dope today.
What?
Speaking of dope, you're looking dope today.
Me?
Yeah.
I just got a sharper camera. That's all. Thank you, though. All right. So, Pericles Dragon Balls. Thank you. Appreciate you, bro. Where we left off, you introduced us to the eternal battle between eternity and oblivion, fighting for power over the eons, and they have reached an accord. Next big final battle for all the cheese of the universe, before the living tribunal, and the unwitting pawn of all these machinations of eternity is poor Storm, who, when we last saw her, was balled up in a ball in a fetal position in her sanctuary. Little hippo, baby hippos. Oh, what's up, baby? What's going on? What's up? What's bothering you, boo-boo? She's being used by eternity as its host. And from there is where we leave her off. So that brings us to the next issue. Here are your covers. You're still doing 4 covers an issue?
Yeah, I think especially because this is an event issue, so that helps.
You got my man Mateus Menahini on your cover A. You got Peach Momoko. Mm-hmm. Did you ask her to do a cover, or did she just volunteer? How'd that work out?
I think for all the X-Manons issues, everyone got a Peach Momoko cover. I was really happy with this. I had to tell my sister in the UK to help me get one. Mm-hmm. That and the Maggott cover.
Who's this next one? The third one, Antoine. You always know these covers.
I remember it. I'll look it up and we can circle back.
The fourth one is the one I really, really, really like this week. This one by Phil Noto. I'm a big Phil Noto fan.
I had to get that too because of Maggott's the pose. Everything's just so cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
So the third one is Francesco Mobili, which is a 1/25 variant.
1/25. So that's out of my price range and budget. But yeah, that's dope cover. All right. So as I said, when last we saw Storm, she's in this fetal position. Here she is now. How do we go from here to here? Where is the fill-in?
we get a little of that in the story, because
Mhm.
in the story we go back 10 hours into the past. And if we know Storm, she's a very sacrificial person, and responsibility always comes first. And the responsibility that Xavier puts in front of her had to take precedence. In issue one of this series, she said, she announced to the world that if anyone came knocking, she would at least hear them out. This is a place that is a sanctuary, that if it's gods, mutants, whoever you are, if you call on her, she will be there to help you. So that's living by our word. It's the decision to live by our word that made her leave the Uncanny X-Men in issue 3. Is that decision too that made her say, you know what, I'm at least going to hear you out, Charles.
This first panel, I think you tweeted about it. It's actually a recreation of a cover from Uncanny X-Men number 290. Or is that 290 or 292? Something like that.
290, yep.
290, yeah.
That cover's done by Will Sportaccio, if I recall. Is Will Sportaccio era of the X-Men.
Mm-hmm. I vividly remember this one. I remember I wasn't old enough quite to like buy it when it came out, but I got it a couple years later. And this is the issue where Forge breaks up with Storm.
Yeah. I was old enough to purchase it because I'm old. Thank you for pointing that out, Antoine. I bought it when it first came out at its cover price, along with all my other X-Men comics. All right. So, what was cool here, you've been alluding to the fact, and obviously there have been the releases made of the characters you have upcoming, which I am greatly looking forward to. The rest of the Thunder Gods. Says Thor of the Asgardians, Sango of the Orishas, Omak of the Amar. I can't even say that word. The Ahau, and Sasunu of the
Amatsukami,
and Zeus of the Olympians. All of these Thunder Gods, and all of them are in this book. What issue are they coming up?
The very next one.
Very next issue. And it points out that all of the Thunder Gods are fierce in battle, and no less so with Storm. This issue sets these very first page sets the table of what's coming. This is an issue about war. It's about battle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing less than that. It is Storm recognizing war is coming, and there's different. What's cool about this is there's different levels of what it takes to prepare for war. So let's jump into it. First thing you do in war is you gather your forces, right?
Yeah.
So introduce here this character. Who is this?
This is Maggott. It's a character that ever since I discovered him through a podcast, I've been fascinated by the character. I just love the fact that the character is very weird, the fact that he has these slugs that basically come out of his stomach, and that's how he eats. They feast on things and then they crawl back to him and then release the energy into him, and then he gets all buffed up. And I when I discovered that, he's African, from South Africa, to be precise, I was like, nice. I really like that. So I wanted to, at least for this particular issue, I want to start with showing him with his African skin, because a lot of the times when we just see him in the blue, so people don't get to know that he's actually African. So like, I want to see him in his African skin, and I want to see him with his African swag. Let's see him dress well. Let's see him with style and everything, and want to give him a little bit of a punk look. Give him some nose rings, some earrings, and some stuff. So yeah.
I actually appreciate you doing that for a number of reasons. One, oftentimes in the X-Men books, particularly in this last Krakoa era, there are a lot of black characters in the Krakoa era, but a lot of the black characters were actually not colored with their normal skin color. They'd be blue or green or yellow or what have you. And so unless you sort of sort of realize that they were black. From the cursory view, you would not see them, which I think is a bit of a disservice to particularly younger readers who like to see characters that look like themselves. I remember seeing some comments where people were like, I didn't even realize Maggott was black because I always saw him blue.
Yeah.
And I think that really does a disservice when we talk about, Tom Brevoort making the comment about having more viable black X-Men. This is what I think he meant. Like, you need, as writers, to develop these characters, make them viable, make them have agency, make them relevant, and just simple. And it's not like it's all that complicated. I mean, simple things like what you did here. Let's take him out that really crappy outfit that he had back in the 90s. Because, I mean, let's admit that the outfit was terrible. He wore a t-shirt, a raggedy t-shirt, some raggedy baggy pants, some boots, and an overcoat that he looks like he got from a thrift shop. And that was his look, his entire run. So you revolutionized this character in one panel. You've got his tuft of hair with his natural hair.
That was in the script. His hair is usually straight. I said straight. To make it kinky.
Right. There's no way you'd know this guy was black unless you really sort of researched it. Obviously, you mentioned his skin color. He's got better clothes on. He looks buff. He's got cool shades on. This guy looks like a more viable version of Maggott than what we had before.
Absolutely.
This, to any X writers in the X offices who may be watching this is what the dude's talking about. Make your characters cool. Give them agency. Make them viable. It's not that hard, and it's kind of your job. Thank you.
And getting to use him in an event, making him debut in an event
is
also one thing. So anytime the X-Men Hunt collection is reprinted, if there's ever an adaptation one way or the other, it will be referenced. So you've also put him in this good spot where he can constantly be referenced. Right. So even if for some reason I stop writing any X book and someone forgets him and they don't use him, but anytime they go back, you're like, oh, who's this cool character? And before you know, it's a new writer and says, you know what, that character I saw in that series, I want to use the character again. So it's always good to put them in strategic positions as well.
Man, I think I might make a clip of what you just said. That's so on point. That's literally kind of what we discussed with Jed McKay, your boy, a few weeks ago, with his Blood Hunt and him using so many black characters in such a prominent run in a big crossover event. Whenever someone says, hey, I want to go read that big crossover event, they're going to see all these characters being cool, being dope, in a great storyline that gives them agency in the story. And there's no backseas on that. And you have a much more, it does a lot more for those characters in promulgating them in the future. So my hat's off to you on that, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
All right. You also introduced another character. We've seen this character, but we never really saw this character. Storm Sanctuary. All we've seen is little hippos running around, looking cute. You see, she's got nice, gold faucets in her cool ass, apartment that she has there, with the big winding staircases, the open fields. It's beautiful. But you indicate that Sanctuary is a lot more than what it appears. Can you talk about this?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot more people are curious about the Sanctuary, and that's the goal. I want you to be curious, and I want that curiosity to continue to grow. I think when you're trying to work on an ongoing series, and I hope it works out, is you try to create elements of mystery, little questions that you get answered and you feel rewarded. If you've been reading this issue from the very beginning, you probably had questions about, what's up with this place? And today you find out that, oh yes, it's powered by this terrible being. And also it can transform, it can move distances, it's moved from Atlanta to San Francisco, and even though it's this beautiful compound, when it's time for war, it can turn into a battleship. So, you are giving ammunition and to people's imagination and to creators in the future as well. Like I always use as my example, Thanos is always my example. Next time you see Thanos invades Earth or something, you're like, yeah, why don't you use thundercloud to fire his ass, or something like that. So things like that, we want that to always be the option. When people are trying to look for cool ideas, those ideas should be also be mixed with Storm's mythology. Let's make our mythology fun, mysterious, and interesting, so that if you just dump everything in like issue one, I think a lot of things will be missed. But when you introduce them gradually, you can take in more and more, and it's just fun getting to discover it bit by bit. I think I intentionally said so far to the artist that for the establishing shots, I don't want you to show the all of Storm Sanctuary yet. I want you to be discovering each section of the place bit by bit.
Mhm.
For now, we've seen the gardens side. Um, in the next couple of issues, we're going to see a place where they do battle. Where we're going to see them do a wrestling match. That's also another part of the place.
You love
And
your wrestling.
yeah. So and here we also see like a lobby kind of place. In some previews that we've seen online, you see like a living room, where Iron Man was there. So we're going to be seeing different aspects of this place and different architecture that he has. We get to see the kitchen. I we made sure that to make the kitchen very luxurious. So many things like that. So yeah, that's the plan. Let's review these things gradually, get more information about it. Where did it come from? Who are the people that built it? What are these compartments that we have? What's powering it? How many? We saw what's powering it in this issue, but are you sure are you sure it's only one? You see 5 rings under the sanctuary. Are you sure she doesn't have 5 of those terrible things? So that's the thing.
No, no, no. I'm not letting you slide with that, man. I need specs. I need blueprints. I need specifications. How fast does this thing go? Does it have missile launchers? Are there laser beams? Are there photon torpedoes? What's the deal with this thing? What can it do?
I think it can't fire missiles or anything, but what it can do is you can see the energy it can disperse. So it's just to say that, for example, if they rescue people from South Korea, for example, and something is gaining on them, it can disperse energy like to destroy anything in their surrounding space. So it fires in all direction. So you have things like that. Those energy sources, they can also they are also protectors. They look humanoid, so yes, they can detach themselves, so and actually fight too. So so
Can
things like
this
that.
be can the sanctuary, much like Cerebro, amplifies Xavier's powers? Can the sanctuary amplify Storm's power so she can sit in the chair in the sanctuary and say, "Let me, rain a Category 10 hurricane on, England or something."
I want to say amplify her powers, but she can connect her powers to it, like, or maybe give it some extra juice, and stuff like that. So it's her that can power the sanctuary even more than the other way around.
Yeah. All right. Are we? Oh, one last question on this. Are we going to see more of Thundercloud's capabilities in the future, near future?
Yeah, hopefully,
All right.
as we get more issues going late.
Mhm. Now, one question I have before we
Yeah.
go on: how I know the thundercloud went from Atlanta to San Francisco. Was it like a teleportation thing, or did it actually just move at a great speed to get there?
Good question.
It's moved at a great speed to get
Okay.
there.
Okay. Cool.
It can teleport.
How fast does it go?
I don't know.
As fast. The,
But
the correct answer is as fast as the story requires it to go.
yeah, so yeah, it
Yeah.
can move really, really fast, but I don't have a number right now in my head. But it moves really fast.
All right.
Let's say as fast as Storm can fly, something.
So Storm's chilling in her crib, and she has a visitor, Charles Xavier. Now, for those that may not be following the X-Men Hunt storyline, Xavier was imprisoned in Greymalkin prison at which was formerly the X Mansion in Westchester, being run by Doctor Evil Lady, Doctor Corinna. What's her last name? Harris? No,
Warren Ellis.
Ellis. Doctor Ellis. Yeah, Doctor Ellis. Um, he's in prison there. He's
Warden
kind of
Ellis.
drugged. Huh?
No, I was correcting myself. Warden Ellis. I think they call her Warden
Yeah,
Ellis.
what?
Yeah.
Warden Ellis. Yeah. And he's in prison there. They got him drugged up, so he can't use his powers all that well. Um, long story short, Rogue's team breaks him out, and you kind of gather. Well, I don't want to do spoilers if you haven't read it, but long story short, he breaks out of his prison. I won't go into the details. The X-Men help him break him out of prison. He has now gone here. He ultimately is trying to save his daughter while he's also on the run. And I think that's pretty much all you need to know at this point. But he is a wanted fugitive, shows up at the crib. I talked about. Well, describe what you're doing here.
Okay. It felt like a risky move, having a whole cooking scene in an event.
Yeah.
It's like that's one of like the no-nos. Like, oh yeah, you're doing civil war, and then someone tries to make jollof rice or something. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So, but it felt necessary to have this intimate interaction because maybe because of my family background or anything. It's, I think, sharing a meal is a very intimate thing, and there's also the whole relationship that's like father-daughter thing that Xavier has with his X-Men, and it's also reflected in like us serving the food, and you see the exchanges they have, and there are lots of minor things and clues about what's going to happen in this entire event, in this discussion, that a lot of people kind of, I think some people missed. I won't say a lot, some people missed, the fact that he said um he's planning to bring someone back.
Mhm.
And if people remember well, there's time slide. In the time slide events, there are a list of events, and after Eternal Storm, there was an event, but the next one after, they said, I wouldn't say the actual thing, but you would get it if you look back.
Mhm.
And the first item he gets is the cerebral helmet. In the Krakoan era, if you want to bring someone back, the first item you need is the cerebral helmet. So some people are like, oh, he's all disjointed and stuff. It's like in part two, he gets the cerebral helmet. In this issue, he says he's trying to bring someone back. It's connected, but you have to just calm down and try to look for these clues. People said, oh yeah, in one, they said his telepathy is gone crazy, but we're not seeing that in Storm. In the issue where Cyclops says we're close enough, on the screens there, you would see people in San Francisco duking it out, fighting each other, influences of his telepathy. But however, Storm is immune to telepathy, so we're not going to see the effects here. Maggott is also immune to telepathy. People don't know. The reason is because Maggott is linked to his slugs by telepathy. So that telepathy always holds precedence. So a telepath can't join that link he already has with his slugs. So but everything is intricate, and it's also Storm, showing that Storm does not particularly like the Grey Mocking prison, and she's trying her best to see if he's going to go back to prison, he will go back to the Cube, a prison that's Iron Man helped set up, and there's this intricate exchange, that shows warmth, that shows that even though Storm would not call her a father figure, a mentor anymore, even though she would not call him a friend anymore, there's still this, I understand what you mean for mutant kind. I know what you meant to my past. And there's still respect for that. And as a mutant too, as someone who came to seek my help, I would not allow you just to die. With what we see in the Marvel universe about how much people get away with in hurting mutants, what do you think would happen if mutants were criminals that were on the run? A lot of them would actually get killed and nothing would happen. So it's like a mutant on the run, it's dangerous. You're probably going to get killed. So the meal too is also a way of saying this is probably going to be your last meal. So I'm going to make you your favorite food. In the comic book universe, his favorite meal is the Japanese green tea. In the movie universe, which I borrowed a little, it's nachos. So I'm bringing it into the comic book universe because I couldn't find the edible food that wasn't a drink that was his favorite food in the comic universe. So that's it's a lot of exposition, it's a lot of intricate emotional exchange, and it's a lot of clues for what is going to happen in the X-Men, all buried in all this dialogue. And I also cracked a little fun for, if anyone was from my tribe, Yoruba, here is Ororo means beauty, means softness in Swahili, but in Yoruba it just means oil, especially the oil you use in cooking. So especially the oil you use in cooking, and Ororo is just above where she's frying the tortilla chips. I'll be back in a few seconds.
Okay. Maria was having some power issues over at his house. I'll tell you one thing that I found was kind of interesting. I mentioned this is like someone said this is like their favorite scene in this book.
Mm-hmm.
This scene had a lot of layers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of layers.
Mm-hmm.
For those who follow this character, I think it was in the Marauders series, there was an exchange between Aurora and Charles. And it was a real pivotal scene and a big scene for their relationship, because Charles basically tells Aurora, look, you're one of my X-Men. You will do what I say. Kind of like how a dad would talk to their adult child.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, look, you'll do what I say, wagging the finger. And Aurora's reaction is, look, I'm an adult woman now. And he reminds her, like, I took you from Africa and I raised you and made you an X-Men. And there's a little tinge of that conversation here.
Mm-hmm.
Because, she mentions, look, you housed me, you fed me, you clothed me. I get all that. But like in that conversation with Marauders, when I heard her say that, I'm thinking about that conversation, because in that conversation, she mentions, well, you took me out of Kenya where I was worshipped as a goddess, and you told me I am not a goddess. I'm just a mutant. And I have a bigger purpose to serve the world by coming to work for you as an X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Retroactively, that was a lie. And that I thought that scene in the, I think it was Marauders book, was so pivotal because it really summed up not just Charles' relationship with her, but with many of the X-Men. Charles is not a good guy in retrospect. Like he is highly manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
Highly manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what
Mm-hmm.
buttons to push to make you, and even without reading your mind, he knows what buttons to push to manipulate people.
Yeah.
That's his greatest power.
Yeah.
The whole,
Even
to this day, all these characters talk about, I want to protect mutants from those who hate and fear them, and to promulgate good relationships between humans and mutants. Like, if you ever notice in X-Men comics, every one of these characters say that same mantra over and over and over again. It's drilled in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
The children of Charles Xavier say the same mantra. Even after all the crap he's put them through, they're still saying that same, whether they're on X-Force, X-Factor, X-Men, whatever, they're all still espousing the same mantra. It's like a cult.
Mm-hmm.
It's brainwashed every one of these mutants into saying the same thing. And, you know, I think ultimately we've seen in the last few years, they're all like, I'm going to call bullshit on that. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's what this scene sort of represents. And one last thing, I talked about the levels of war. The first thing, you gather your forces. That's why she got Maggott. She's got Xavier. Next thing is you do reconnaissance, right? That's what this scene is, because she's stalling for time and feeling him out and trying to figure out what's going on with him. She's already called the Avengers or whoever to come pick him up. And she's basically feeling him out and assumes war is coming soon. So she's basically doing her surveillance and reconnaissance. It's the next level of war.
Mm-hmm. It's the war of words and information.
Yes.
Trying to get this, and just to show that how much Charles knows Storm, you know, saying that I don't need telepathy to know that you've done this, you know. And so it's he knows his students well. He's always studied them and everything. So yeah, he's a very manipulative person. And he's also coming to Storm, which people also forget context. Is also coming to Storm at a very vulnerable time as well. You know, this is a Storm that just recently died. You know, this is a Storm that is also living on our own until we just saw Maggott now. You know, and if people that tell you, I think is one of the, you know, all these 48 laws of power and art of seduction and all those stuff is, if you want to manipulate people, the first thing you do is you separate them from their friends. You know, you isolate them. You know, is this right now? Storm is on her own. She's not with the X-Men. There's nobody to tell her that, you know, let's forget this thing. You know, so it's just her and Xavier. You know, her with the most manipulative person in the world. You know? And you know, and he has all the right words. And so yeah.
And for me, I think there was a lot, like you said, both of you. There's so much to unpack here. We don't have time to talk about all of it tonight. But my takeaways from it, there were a couple things that I saw people saying that let me know they really weren't looking into it deeply. Some of it is because I think a lot of them are young and they don't really know or are aware of the history of Charles Xavier and these X-Men. But my first point is, they were saying that he seemed very different from issue to issue. Now, to me, as someone who knows that Charles Xavier is a manipulative bastard, why wouldn't he seem different in each issue? Because he's going to be different with each person that he's interacting with. Yeah, right. To get different things.
It changes his personality to be more manipulative to the people he's attending to. Like, yeah.
Exactly. And that was the first thing that I picked up on. The second thing I picked up on was, okay, the first part was the breakout. The second part was he needed to get his tools. He needed to get what he needed. The third part is he's seeking out protection. So who does he go to? He goes to Storm. While I'm trying to get to where I need to get to, she can help me, but she can also protect me if I need protection. So yeah, the whole thing was manipulative. But the other thing I liked that I think a lot of people didn't get was her willingness to, you know, still hear him out. Because like you said, Marewa, she's not going to let him die. No, she doesn't consider him a friend anymore. You know, they're not besties. she was a teacher's pet at one point, which a lot of younger readers don't know.
They forgot that she was a teacher's pet. Yes,
They forget that Storm was a very big teacher's pet back in the day. But that being said, it's not to say that she wouldn't make sure that he was sent back to some sort of prison, after whatever was done was accomplished. But number one, she's not going to let them take him because they'll probably kill him in transit. And number two, whatever he's told her, I'm thinking in my head it's probably something related to Zandra, who she has a soft spot for, because that's why he broke out to save his daughter. Why wouldn't she help him? That ties into everything that Storm is about, and he knows that.
I like Kenan White's comment here. Shout out to Kenan White. I think with Charles, he meant well initially, but like anything, if you have no accountability, you start to think you are flawless, and no one can give you advice. And the person who did, he made an enemy.
Yeah,
which was
I think
Magneto.
that's what.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what people also criticize about people of power as well. Once you get enough power that there are no more checks and balances, you no longer report to anyone.
Yeah.
You begin to do questionable things. I think that's what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
The X-Men are the people that check any mutant that is, going out of line. If you're doing things that is hurting the mutant dome or hurting the planet, the X-Men checks you. But Xavier is the one in charge of the X-Men. So who checks Xavier? And that's why he has gone so unchecked. So he reports to no one. So if he thinks, what if I think Scott will perform better if he doesn't know he had any siblings? There's no one to tell him that, I don't think that's a good idea. He just goes ahead and does it. And the power of telepathy too is also a very, very manipulative power set that is very tempting to use. If your power was just shooting fire from your fist, you might not develop this kind of character traits. But if it's the power to read people's minds, the power to change people's minds, it becomes very different. I think there are stories about how mutants got favor for a while because it was always changing votes when it comes to government proceedings and things like that. So it's a combination of so many things. And if you try to view the character with just a single lens, you will find yourself confused. But if you can put this all together and understand the complexity of human relationship, you start seeing the dots connect.
Yeah, agree.
So forces are, allegiances are tested, and now we're at the let's gear up for war stage, right? I forgot to put that picture here, but there's a picture prior to this where Storm goes into her armory, and she's got all these knives and blades, and we know from the Marauders issues, Storm has blades on her body at all times. If you don't see it,
those were the exact blades. Luciano Vercio drew those exact blades from that Marauders issue in that armory.
Yeah, so she pulled out at least a dozen blades off her body.
Yeah.
That was dope. That was a dope homage to that concept. But she puts on this armor, and she has this staff. I guess it's more of a spear than anything else. What is this? What is this costume, and what does this represent?
I think I like. There's a fan that's been following this series, Jog, and he made a comment which I like. He said, "Storm died once." That his own interpretation of the way this is going is Storm has died. I think now she doesn't want to die anymore. Storm, more than ever before, is now more cautious. Now Storm wears protective gear to protect herself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was Jug. So shout out to Jug if he's watching.
That makes such sense. Storm has always been the least protected X-Man in terms of her outfits, right? She's literally
Yes.
flying around with a bathing suit and a cape for a few decades.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the 90s when Jim Lee was doing the X-Men, he said that that blue and gold outfit that he gave everybody was battle armor. You know, it was Forge had made their costumes bulletproof and what have you. But Storm's still out there running around in her bathing suit and stuff. and so she's never really felt the need to like keep herself protected. So this is a logical move, even psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cool that you would sort of point that out. Like she just died.
Yeah.
She's got some trauma from that.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense for her to want to armor up and give herself a little extra gear. It doesn't lessen who she is.
Right.
I mean, she still has all the power at her disposal.
Even if it makes her a little uncomfortable, because I think
Right.
I remember, back in the day, it was kind of also touched on. She didn't like to wear a lot of clothing because it kind of the claustrophobia thing. She felt
Right.
smothered.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Her fear of death again is greater than her fear of claustrophobia.
Right.
And another thing is, I don't think she knows who's going to walk out of that portal.
Yeah.
They
I
don't
got
know
that
who they're
too.
going to send. Is it going to be sentinels? Is it going to be sentinels? Is it going to be armed forces? Is it going to be a revived, Orcus, this thing?
Yeah.
What is it going to be?
Those hounds
So-
that they had in Uncanny. Yeah.
Yeah, like what is it going to be? You have to be very cautious. So at this point, if you don't know your enemy, just come with the biggest gun you have, and hope it's big enough. So yeah.
Well, Maria, I've got to switch to my cult of Bast hat. Right? Got to represent my king and ask about this armor.
It's vibranium.
It's vibranium, but it also looks Wakandan. If you look at it is. Is
The
this armor?
patterns.
Tell us where it came from.
Because I don't want to get internet shaking and everything, but it's it's from the children of T'Chaka, basically, and we're going to get more revelation into how they were convinced to give her the armor as the story continues. But they were basically given to her by the children of T'Chaka.
Moreo, that statement is loaded. The children of T'Chaka. Are we just talking T'Challa and Shuri, or is there some other children of T'Chaka I don't know about?
Or am I just saying plural to throw you off? Maybe it's just one of them.
Okay. All right. Well, one of them gave her armor from Wakanda. It's interesting because it's made out of vibranium, so assumably, one of the things it should be able to do is help her to channel her power. Because it helps to conduct the energy and what have you.
Yeah, and it's coincidentally the best defense against Cyclops beams, because vibranium and storing kinetic energy, and its beams are basically kinetic energy. So it was also the perfect counter, but Eternity didn't get the memo.
Yeah. What about her staff? Her spear.
Oh, it's made from the same material.
Okay. It's This would be very crass of me to ask, but I have to. What did she get this before or after Marauders 13? The infamous issue in which she stole Stormcaster from Wakanda.
No, this is after.
This is after.
Yeah,
they would give her a gift after she stole Stormcaster.
So yeah, that means there's going to be a lot of drama and convincing. So, what happened today?
I'm curious about this, Mariah. When will we learn more about where this suit came from and the circumstances?
I genuinely have no idea because that's probably going to be in like the fourth arc,
Okay.
and
All right.
it's not been greenlit yet.
All right. I will switch back to my general Black Comic Lords hat. All right. So, it's interesting when we talked before about Maggott being blue most of the times in his original depiction. You see him turn blue here. Why is that?
The original plan for Maggott is in his base form, he is African skinned, and when he gets powered up by his slugs, he now turns blue and big and buff.
He gets and his power set is strength and a level of invulnerability, or no?
Yes, similar to the Hulk.
Okay. All right. Then there's the battle, because who steps through the portal but the X-Men, the Alaskan X-Men? We've got Temper. We've got Psylocke, Quentin Quire, Juggernaut, Cyclops, and Ilyana Rasputin.
Temper looked beautiful in this comic, by the way.
Yeah, I forgot. I apologize to Luciano Vecchio. I didn't say anything about the art. I'll give this compliment. You have one of the best artists in the world working on this book, Lucas Wernick. And when Luciano stepped in, there was no drop off in the art quality.
Not at all.
They have different styles, but there's, in terms of quality, the quality is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, mad props to Luciano. Outstanding artwork in this book.
Oh, he also handles air very well. Like, look at, again, fan of how Temper's hair was handled. Temper's hair looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And what makes people, I don't know why, there's some people that hate Cyclops. They think he's a dweeb or a nerd or whatever they describe him as, and they don't realize Cyclops is one of the most badass X-Men. His strategic mind is on par with some of the best leaders in the Marvel universe. And that's one of the reasons he and Storm always got along in many respects. They respected each other. Even if they disagreed, they've always respected each other. Which makes this next scene kind of interesting.
Yeah. In the previous page, if you also noticed, people thought like Cyclops saying, asking Temper to be Temper and Magic, to be the one to face off Storm was a bad move because, Temper elemental power, Storm elemental powers, and Storm is Omega in elemental powers. And it's like everything, like in that dialogue about Storm can't unleash her full power, that's what it's saying. And who are the two people he paired up with Storm? The two people that Storm has history with, the two people that Storm kind of has this kind of mentorship relationship with, it's an older version of Storm that teaches magic. Is Storm that discovered. Storm was the first person to discover Temper when she gained her powers.
Right.
And so these are the two people that she wouldn't go hard on them.
Yeah.
She would hold back on them, and that's what he needs as distraction for Storm to be able to get to Xavier. So like Juggernaut is stronger than Maggott, so Juggernaut should be able to handle Maggott. Storm would hold back against these two people. We will be able to get Xavier. So the tactics are there on wide open display, showing that he's a master tactician.
For those who are maybe just joining us, please hit the like button. Really appreciate it. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. All right. So the battle ensues. Um, and then we go head to head, Storm versus Cyclops.
Mm-hmm.
Storm is wearing her armor. She's literally not holding anything back. The armor is literally kind of what's pushing back Cyclops' optic gleams. As you said, this armor proved useful in this engagement. I love the blast effect you see in the second panel where you see the optic blast go all over the place. It reminds me when Cyclops had very little control over his optic blast at one point when he was kind of resurrected, and his optic blast was drawn a lot more swirly
Yeah.
because it was just like the raw energy of it. His true optic blast goes all over the place. But you have him in this first panel unleash his powers to the point where it shatters his visor. Why is that?
Number one rule of cool, it's what's the point of a battle if you don't see the characters go all out.
Yeah.
So like, yes, let's see the visor shatter, and but also it's also the emotional state that Cyclops is in,
Mm-hmm.
which we're going to explore more in X-Men and Omega.
Mm-hmm.
But just to give a little hint, in Jed McKay's X-Men, I think issue 3, we see Cyclops having a panic attack,
Mm-hmm.
And I think people have forgotten that so quickly, even Cyclops fans, it seems. Is Cyclops currently is not in a super stable emotional state right now. And that's why he might also be coming off a little bit hypocritical, that why do you insist Charles Xavier goes to this prison? Look at what happened in Fall of X. Charles Xavier kills these people, makes Cyclops watch. You know, look at the torture he went through in Fall of X, and is here under the constant threat and watch of the government. You know, to the level that you had to say, pull the trigger, kill me, that kind of thing, and then see what my wife is going to do to this planet, and that kind of thing. And anytime the issue of Charles comes up, I think it makes him more emotionally, quote unquote, irrational.
Right.
As
Yeah.
stable as he is, as everything, people forget again. I think maybe because a lot of people joined during the Krakoa era,
Mm-hmm.
Charles Xavier was a father figure to these people.
Yeah.
He has the same kind of hold a parent would have on their children.
Mm-hmm.
That's how intimate the relationship is with them. So this is so it's like a parent that has disappointed the child.
Right.
The way they act is completely different. You are angry, you are upset at them. So it's all
Mm-hmm.
that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's why Cyclops is also not holding back.
Yeah.
And you see that also in the manifestation of his powers as well.
You see this in these word bubbles here. Nothing but heart and goodwill. Very well. Watch and learn, child. Whose voice is that?
That's Eternity talking to Storm about how just because she thinks she's doing the right thing by saving Xavier, she's not going hard enough. You know, there's especially if you note the narration properly, she is actually comparing. Eternity is doing, because Eternity is the Marvel universe. Eternity is basically doing what fans do when they talk about Storm's leadership. Like, oh yeah, you're not as good as Cyclops. And that's what Eternity is doing. Saying that you don't have countless battle plans the way Cyclops would have. You know, because it says it, and is a reference to this iconic line from Cyclops where someone asks him that, what about plan B? And he says, no, it's plan 2. Plan B only means we have 26 plans.
Yeah, my favorite line. One of my
Yeah,
favorite
that was a
lines.
cool.
Yeah.
That was a cool line.
Yeah. So so eternity say you just have, Storm is the one that's like, have one plan and we're going to make that one plan work, and it's like, that's what are you even doing? Is this how we're going to face oblivion, with one plan, you've set no traps, are we just going to face oblivion with heart and goodwill because, oh yeah, all my friends are in the universe and I'm fighting for what's right, and that's what's going to make us win,
Mhm.
that's what you are doing here again because you think you're doing the right thing in your opinion. Yeah, with rights by your side you would win. Like, you're going to lose this battle, and you're also not going all out too, and everybody's like, what are you doing, what are you doing? You think goodness would win you this battle, and it says, let me teach you how to win battles, and then it takes over.
He does indeed. So
It's my
gone
turn.
is the Wakandan armor. You literally see the remnants of it on her hand that's extended there. It's just getting it. It's like, get rid of this stuff. I don't need this. Right. Transforms her into the Eternal Storm. You've got her white outfit that she has. Back is her ruby crystal on her chest. And literally spewing out energy out of the mouth. It's my turn now. You fought well, brave mutant. Make peace with your existence, Scott Summers, leader of the X-Men. First of all, you mentioned this in the last episode that this isn't her original ruby crystal. This is something
Yeah.
she's manifested. Is that her storm, Auroros, exerting some level of influence over eternity inhabiting her body? Is that some type of projection from her?
Yes.
Okay. Um,
And I made fun of myself writing this scene, even though I like this scene. I'm like, how can she talk while she's also shooting ice beams from her mouth? But I'm
well,
like, it's eternity. It can do anything the bloody wants.
okay, so that was kind of my question: is what is coming out of her mouth? So it's an ice beam,
Ice beams, yeah.
and like literally, you know, Cyclops's power is a concussive force that comes out of his eyes, as you said, kinetic force, and the ice beam is actually pushing it back to an extent. Like there's
Yes.
you know, a stalemate there
Yeah, there's a
until
stalemate there until it keeps pushing it.
until eternity says, "All right, stalemate over."
Boom.
Boom.
Case closed. Sorry, dude.
This page right here, these two panels, all over the internet.
Yeah, this is what got people upset. Some people that didn't even read the book. Oh my god, you shamed Cyclops. What do you mean? I was like, dude, he's facing eternity. What did you expect? He's
How
facing
did
the
you
entire
think this
freaking
story was going
universe.
to end?
Yeah, he's facing the entire universe, for crying out loud. Like, he struggles against base level Storm.
You
I
know,
don't think he has ever won a battle against base level Storm. And you're not saying one that is eternal Storm. Like, what are you saying?
that's what people forget. Even without the eternity power up, which makes this engagement, you know,
No
ridiculous.
contest.
It's not even a question.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even. It's almost like eternity was toying with Cyclops with the whole,
Yeah.
you know, just playing with her food. But people forget, even without the power up, if you ask the question, what happens if Storm goes up against the X-Men? The X-Men are going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've lost. Like, this is the first time
Yeah.
Storm has squared off against the X-Men. When she does, whether it be over mind control, misunderstanding, what have you, the X-Men lose.
Mhm.
People took issue with the moniker on these issues called, Storm, the world's most powerful mutant.
That's my taste.
That's not just a byline. That's not like a headline. That's
facts.
facts.
Yeah.
Straight up facts.
And this series is, you know, her curriculum vitae. This is her resume. This is Morea's saying, let me define who this character is. Allow me to reintroduce Aurora to you, is what Morea's doing. And he has receipts for everything he's doing. That's what I love. That's what I love. So yeah.
I like someone online that was able to bring out, you know, the narration that was describing Rogue Storm, which is linked to Eternal Storm, you know, saying that, you know, from its mouth you shall have ice and fire, you know. So just be like, it's all connected, man. It's all connected.
Yeah. This scene with Juggernaut. How did you not get this a red band? Like,
poor Maggott. Yeah. I felt so bad for Maggott.
Maggott, look, you described Maggott as a few episodes ago. Yeah, Maggott's gonna come in, he's gonna be Storm's valet. So Maggott shows up to the sanctuary. Hey Storm, I'm here to help you. Do you need, you know, lay out your clothes? I'll do your grocery shopping, your personal assistant. Oh yeah, we're going to battle. Well, I got your back. I'll do what I can. All of a sudden, he's fighting against a freaking Juggernaut, and Juggernaut it's horrible.
and they've faced each other before, very early into his appearance, and I think Juggernaut just left him because he was being weird. Like, this guy is just weird, you know. And he was saying ridiculous stuff that almost can be translated to, yeah, you better run, you know. And you know, this time I'm like, let's see what really happens when they like face each other. And one of the ways Marvel is giving me a lot of leeway, but one of the ways I try to not cross the line is usually if the being has blue skin, you know, you can actually do more than if it's human skin. When it comes to causing damage, you know, when they are robots, blue skin, different things, you can have different arguments of, oh yeah, they're not human, you know, and stuff like that. So I think it usually helps you to be able to do some level of violence while still staying PG-13.
Lady Kerrigan says, shout out to Larry Kerrigan. Although, may I ask if X Team did have authority to be hostile? Storm said she had licenses for protection. So Storm is an X-Man. Storm is an Avenger. So she is a registered superhero as far as the governments of the world are concerned. That gives her some degree of sovereign immunity to do what she needs to do for her superheroing. But beyond all that, let's be clear. Storm's in her crib. Yeah. Right? Having lunch with Xavier. She made him some nice guacamole, having guac and chips.
Right. She hasn't done anything wrong.
Xavier came to her. She didn't go out and pull him out of prison. Xavier somehow snuck into the sanctuary. You need to explain how he did that, by the way, other than the fact that he's Xavier. But and they're having lunch, and the X-Men barge in with a teleporter, open up a porter in her house. I live in Florida. Our laws are very clear on breaking and entering. We have stand your ground rules. You break into my house, you get murked. And it's legal. End of case. It's not even a question. So, yeah, this scene with Juggernaut, wow. I felt bad for Maggott. I don't even like Maggott. I think he's kind of gross with the Maggots. I'm not a Maggott fan, admittedly. But
I'm happy it's growing on people after this issue.
My man didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this. He's like, I just came over to help her out, to lay out the clothes, to be the valet, and all of a sudden my arm's torn off by the damn Juggernaut. Maria, you're ruthless, dude. You're absolutely ruthless. All right.
I need to remind people how dangerous the X-Men are as well. Like, even though we're saying Eternal Storm is badass, the X-Men are badass as well in their own right.
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing. I think the last comment was by what was that? Dr. Wizard, put that up.
Butterfly
But to
kiss.
house a fugitive would be against the law. Aurora could get some pushback from this, which is where the FBI agents come to play. Well, she
Not
did her
yet.
job. Remember,
Yeah.
she called the Avengers. She called the Avengers, said they'll be here any minute. So as a law enforcement officer, she kind of did her duty.
Yeah, but moving him from where he was to San Francisco, harboring and protecting him, yeah, it does come to roost later too.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I feel like there's a couple ways that she could combat that as well. You know, because she is a registered hero, and because mutants die at such an alarming rate when the manhunt starts, it could be said that she was defending him so that she could properly take him back to the prison. But you know, we'll see. That's just my thought.
We'll see in the next issues, and that's also the funny thing about, you know, people saying that, oh, Storm always gets away with everything, you know, she's never accountable, and it's like, dude, it's obvious you're not reading the Storm series. If you're reading the Storm series and you're following the solicitations, people that are already following this already know that everything that happens in next Manhunt, Storm is going to still face its repercussions. I don't even think other series, I'm not sure, some are, because some are getting cancelled and stuff like that. But for Storm, it's literally is already happening in like the next immediate issues. She's already facing the repercussions of it. She's already been investigated. She's going to be questioned about Xavier, and she will have to either lie about it or get thrown in jail. And from issue 1, we realize that Storm has already made this vow of, I'm not going to lie. So is she going to get thrown in jail? Who writes a story about a black character getting thrown in jail? Am I going to get thrown in jail? So let's see.
You know, one of the things that you mentioned in this story, it's almost, and I think this, I don't think enough of is made of this. Storm gives him a stat. She goes, you know, statistically, for escaped mutant prisoners, 95% of them die in their escape, you know, in their recapture. That seems like a very specific piece of information. And she says, I get this out of the Avengers database. Like, wait.
Yeah.
She's at the Avengers, you know, ship up in space, the
Impossible City.
The Impossible City, and she's going on the computers and saying, let me look up stats on mutants.
That's why she was brought on board. No, that's why she was brought on board, because they said they wanted the mutant perspective.
Right.
In that issue where they brought her, like, we want to have the mutant perspective. And that's why she was brought on board, to look into things like this. Like, how is the current system being run right now that is unfair to mutants? It's our job to know these things right now.
It's also, I think, foreshadowing, because we know in this run, your run, she will eventually run for office, is my understanding. There's going to be some politics involved in her future. So one who is going into politics does things like look up statistics so that they can, you know, have informed
things that they want to fix and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So I thought that was a bit of foreshadowing on your part. Yes. All right. So my man got his arm torn off. Now, the one thing I don't know about Maggott, I didn't think he has a healing factor per se, but I see his little maggots are already on his arm, and you see this crackle of energy. I guess it's coming from Storm. Is she? What is does his powers work where if he loses a limb, the maggots can somehow reassemble it? Is that how it works? If they eat something to help him heal or something?
He has a little bit of an healing factor, just a very little. But because now is turned into Omega Maggott, all that power set is going through the roof, and that's why he can reattach his limb easily. Right. So the Maggots are linked to him telepathically, so they're just helping bring his arm closer to him, and while the other one consumes the energy and things like that.
So we talked about in the last episode what's going to happen with her eating Igum, and you said it was going to come up in this episode, and it did in this issue. She coughs him back up. This is a compacted, compressed demon Spirit. Is Agoon a god or is he just a spirit? How would you define it?
He's a spirit, but he's as powerful as a god.
Okay.
He's on god power level. Yeah.
God tier level character.
Since he can take down sorcerer supremes.
Compacted into a gobstopper size thing. And she gives it to Eenie or Meanie. I can't tell the difference between the two of them. And they're connected to Maggott. So whatever they eat helps to power him up. Eat up and become my Omega Maggott.
Omega Maggott. I love that.
In all the years that I have seen the character Maggott, I never thought those words would be uttered with regard to him. The Omega Maggott. What does that even entail?
And again, people have to watch for the words. You know, she didn't say eat up and become the Omega Maggott. She said my Omega Maggott. And that's to show what is eternity cooking. You know, is he trying to also recruit Maggott to his side away from Storm? You know, as eternity made a deal with Aegon while it was inside of him. You know, so those are the kind of things I think should go on in people's mind, like the wording itself.
Yeah.
My Omega Maggott, almost like you're saying like my herald, you know, so we're going to see that come into play with, even though Maggott is going to be chill with Storm, it's also, what does it entail now that he has this terrible and evil being inside him? What will he do? And just to give a little hint, you know, I said one of the inspirations for this story is also Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender. And if you also remember,
that's one of the best versions of X-Force ever.
Yeah, and if you remember Angel in that series as well, you know, with Apocalypse and all those stuff. So that's us. So we're going to be playing with something like that with Aegon and Maggott, and hopefully we get to be able to explore it fully when we get more issues. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of problem to come later. But for what it entails, it's still going to be Maggott's power set. It's going to have a fresh new look that leans more into his horrific, disgusting self. You know, I always feel like never stay mid ground, go as far as you can. So, you know, so right now, instead of having clean shoulders or wearing that shoulder pad that has bumps, it is actual skin that has those weird bumps, you know. And
we're gonna show that in a second. I'm still intrigued by Omega Maggott. Here's the thing. It makes sense for Eternity to choose Storm as his host. Because she's an Omega level mutant, meaning her powers have no endpoint, like no upper limit. So in order to have a host that can contain that level of power, an Omega level mutant would seem to make sense. Was Maggott an Omega level mutant before ingesting Agoon? Because he says eat up and become my Omega Maggott. So is Agoon upgrading Maggott to Omega level? Is Agoon's use of the term Omega the same as what we normally think when we're brandishing around, we're talking about mutants? Does that mean Maggott was an Omega level mutant before, or is that he's getting upgraded to Omega level?
Maggott isn't an Omega level mutant,
yeah,
but his anatomy can accommodate like huge powers because of his power set. His power set is basically, I can absorb as much energy as possible. There was a particular story written by Alex Packnadell, which was an Infinity comic, where he was separated from one of his slugs, and the slug just kept eating and eating and eating and eating, and they were separated for so long. And when they eventually reconciled, it became huge, like as big, almost like kaiju size, and said, "I'm jacked," you know. So that's his physiology can accommodate that this kind of huge power, and his physiology knows how to increase the energy it takes and also decrease the energy, so his physiology makes to be able to manage a power like Egun inside of his body even better than Storm or any other character because of how his physiology works. He can always, his body and energy is like a rubber band. So
It's very,
he's
very
perfect for things
malleable.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than probably any other character. And is she is upgrading to, let's not, allow me not to say maybe like an omega level, an omega mutant, but something more like an omega level threat, something like that. Like Maggott now is being upgraded into an omega level threat. So
Bobby Blueshay says you need to write her thoughts. Antoine, you and I were talking about this.
We were.
Do you think
First of all, I
all
think
through the story?
that's a very pushy statement to say, but could we ask? But I'm sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
Antoine, you're always trying to fight somebody,
I'm
man.
sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll calm down.
Save that for the internets, man. All right.
what's your
So
take on this, Paul?
here's the thing.
Mm.
In my opinion, and I don't know if this is right, I'm just a longtime comic reader guy who's talking to you from this chair. What Maria is doing by having not sharing Storm's thoughts and having a narrator who we don't know who this person is, assumably, narrating the story is very thematic, very cinematic. It's dramatic, or someone
Mythical.
dramatic, right? Like you're now observing. You don't want to hear what's going through her head. You want to see what's happening to her, and having this voice saying, Storm is part of the gods, the thunder gods, and thunder gods are very fierce warriors, and having that narration allows you as the reader to wonder what's going to happen next. It becomes more of a surprise. I don't want to know what's going through her head with word bubbles. I want to see her reacting to all the fantastical things that's happening around her, because these are very this is another level of whatever she's experienced before. Everything is fantastical, and as the observer, you want to see it happen without having the interruption of her individual thoughts of what's going on at the moment. That's just my take.
Yeah, and there are different levels. As a creator, you also want to try a different approach to your storytelling. Like, okay, people have done this, why don't we try this and see how this would work, you know um and so there's that, and there's the aspect of this story is supposed to feel mythic. Like if you look at the narration, we said, talking about, storm gods are fierce in battle, but Aurora Monroe, when it comes to the matters of the art, is still human. Things like that that just sound epic and grand. And anytime the narration talks about Storm, she doesn't even talk about it. Talks about Storm as a god. Yet her actions in the story are always very human. You know, this story, for example, starts with comparing her to basically all fathers. Thor is an all father right now. Zeus is an all father. These are like powerful beings, and yet she's been easily convinced by Xavier. Cyclops almost beats her, and so many things. We see her making human mistakes of still holding back because she has to fight, people that like her mentees, having to fight her friends and all these things. And I want, and this kind of stories that I think this is the most these are the biggest challenges we've seen her face. I think in this type of moments, we want our actions to speak rather than our words. And I also want to circumvent some things because Storm has always been written to be someone of so many words. In a lot of big epic stories, she's limited as the one to give speeches.
Mm-hmm.
House of X is one of my favorite books of all time. I love it. But as a Storm fan, I'm like, all she does is give the speech at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's not one of the guys that goes to the moon. She's not one of the people that, and all those stuff. All she does is give the speech.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like they always put her in that role, you know.
Yeah.
And look, at times you said that she was on an X-Men team and Kitty Pryde would even be the one to lead the team and not her, and stuff like that. And it's starting to come off as, oh, Storm is the talker. Let's get her to talk. Let's get her to be the mentor figure in the group. Let's get her to be the one to say these things. And I want her to be the character that takes actions. We hardly see Wolverine put into those positions because that Wolverine is not a big talker. It makes the move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
While everybody's discussing, where's Wolverine? He's gone. He's gone. He has gone to
He's
make
going
the
to do what
move.
he has to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the role Storm has always been in. But because of years of constantly adding more and more to her being a talker, it's now become that's what she does most of the time. She talks.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you want to correct something, you can't go to the middle. You have to go to the other side. You have to go to the other end of things. Like, you know what? In this, we're going to see our actions, and we're going to try to interpret who she is, her state of mind, everything from her actions. And now, from the marketing point of view too, and so many things, I want people to come online and talk about these books.
Mm.
If everything you need to know is on the page, bam, all the interpretations, everything is there. You read the book and you're like, wow, that was good. You close it and you go to bed. And that's all. We know those many books like that you're like, oh, and I was enjoying that book and that book got cancelled, and things like that. I want you to have this and have interpretations and be able to come online and be like, you know what? Why do you think Storm made green tea? And you talk about it and you discuss it, and oh yeah, it's because of new X-Men. She's the one that mentioned that if you ever want to get on his side, but does Storm want to get on his good side? No, but if you read this dialogue that she said there and you talk about it, you have debates about it. And
Right.
like I said, three X-Manhunt episodes came out this week. Go on the xspoilers tag. It's a lot of stuff about this particular issue.
Yeah.
Either it's to criticize it or to praise it.
Yeah.
It's this particular issue. And it's because it gives you room to talk and interpret and discuss about the material itself. On Amazon, either we are number 1, number 2, or anything, usually our ratings are usually, it's not about, oh, we have 5 stars and 4 points this stars, not just that. The number of ratings are usually very high. Uncanny X-Men sells way more than we do. Uncanny X-Men might have, let's say, 20 reviews. We would have like 50. And that's because people want to engage with the material. It gives room for engagements.
Yeah.
So that you can go back to these books, let me read through it again. What do you think this means? And so many other things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you have questions is a good thing.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. You have these word bubbles when the Eternal Storm is speaking. It's blue. You know, it's different.
Yeah.
In your head, what does her voice sound like? Is it, you know, is it Alison Seeley Smith, or are we talking Barry White? Like, what's her voice sound like?
Man, in my head, you guys, what Eternal Storm sounds in my head is not is not too good. It sounds like a man's voice, man. It's just Eternity start talking.
So Barry White.
I don't. Yeah, it's just Eternity's voice straight up. When Eternal Storm is talking, it's when Storm is talking that I hear the X-Men the animated series voice. But when Eternal Storm is talking, I just hear Eternity's voice. Because if I should hear a more feminine voice, it might affect how I write it. But readers should probably hear Storm's voice, but hear the words change. Because if you see the way Eternity speaks very differently from Storm, but it's very, like in this page, for example, it says eat up, it's the essence of a goon, eat up, and this is eat up and become the Omega Maggott. It speaks the way, God speaks in the Bible, speaking in threes, symbolism and all those stuff, eat up, eat up, eat up, you see how he talks in grandiose way, even way more than Storm. And he's way more prouder than Storm, and he elevates himself, So yeah, those are the kind of things I play with. So I need to hear that masculine voice when I hear Eternal Storm to write it well.
I kind of figured that as well. That's why I said Barry White. Shout out to L Dog for this $10 super chat. Appreciate that. Black Comic Lords could definitely use the money. Morea is a big fan of this particular character. So that was for you, Morea. I know you live short.
Thanks, man.
All right. Let's Eternal Storm is a bully.
Yeah.
A straight up bully. And I know you love your wrestling. I mean, you even put here Immortal Head Smash in big bold letters. Like, you had to let people know what was going on. So, I mean, Immortal Storm could have just basically probably just vaporized Juggernaut if she really wanted to, right? She headbutts him because she's a bully. And it's because this is a complete flex move, and shatters the bands of Sidorak. I don't think that was supposed to be possible. The magical bands of Sidorak, which engulfs and encompasses Cain Marco's head and his armor, she breaks it, the head broke. So the question becomes for me, what part of the triple power set of the Eternal Storm is this? The magical part? The mutant part? The cosmic part?
The cosmic part.
All of the above.
Number one is it's what I alluded to very early on in this series. I think distance fighting is cool, but I think because in real life we don't get to see that a lot, so we don't have context for it, so we don't usually appreciate it as much as we can. We've seen fights where people exchange blows. We have more context for it. That's why I think I've seen someone do a video essay about, if you see superhero fights where all of them are in the air and they're all flying, pew, 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 pew. We just watch it as though we're seeing birds in the air. We have no context for it. We don't understand how it feels if someone punches you in the air but you're still in the air. Does it feel hard? How does the wind feel to your skin? We don't have any context for it. But when they are close to the ground, and someone smashes your head to the ground, how that feel. Like, oh man, concrete is hard. You understand that, and those are the kind of like fights things I want to also bring into Storm. Like, I think those are the things that helps improve the character's cool factor. Bring their epic power, make it a little grounded so that we have context for it, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to increase her durability so that we can have those fights, because we
Yeah.
know she's good in hand-to-hand combat and things like that. So let's see it here. And one thing we know Juggernaut for is tough edge. Nothing can stop the Juggernaut. If Thor's armor is coming, he goes with his head like, yeah, and stuff like that. And it's like, what if it's head to head? Let's see it. And um it was just supposed to be an headbutt where she's smashed to the ground. But then when I saw the art, I was like, yeah, I have to put SFX here. I have to put SFX here, and it's going to be spelt out SFX like we do in this series, like immortal head smash. Dalton was like, are you sure? Like, Juggernaut should be dead if you see something like immortal head smash. Like, immortal head smash is dead. And so yeah, and
even
showing
before
how
this, I
powerful.
didn't show that panel. She impales him, pierces his skin, which is not supposed to really be possible. Pierces his skin with these Eternal Storm spears. Are those made out of
Levitates him and
lightning? What
then
are they made out of?
smashes. They're made out of lightning, condensed lightning.
Wow.
So yeah, it's, and the power sets working right now is the cosmic side of things.
Yeah.
It has to be. I'm curious about it because we all know the Juggernaut's power comes from magic. He's not a mutant.
Yeah.
Magic. So magic has its own weird sort of power sets, and you have magic. Nothing can sort of defeat magic because it's magic. That's how it works. And she's using the cosmic power to overpower magic.
Yeah, once you have any of those power sets that you said, once you have it high enough to a level, you can override any other one. If level is powerful enough, you can override mutant power. If it's high enough, you can override my cosmic power. It just depends on how high can you get,
Which beggars the question. As I said, Storm has magic, she has mutant ability, and she now has cosmic power. Can she use her innate magic and mutant ability, or omega mutant ability, to overpower Eternity's grasp on her as the host?
Yeah, it's
as we saw in the last issue. Doom wanted to Eternal Storm, the Eternity wanted to kill Doom, and Aurora stopped Eternity, much to Eternity's bewilderment. So she obviously has some ability to push back.
Yeah, in that aspect, that was willpower. When it comes to like using powers to like push Eternity out, if you're going to use magic, you're probably going to need like Sorcerer Supreme level magic, like the way Stephen Strange was able to put Eternity in her mind in the first instance in the Fantastic Four story. So you need Sorcerer Supreme level of power, and I even think in that situation, Eternity also wanted to go into her mind, because the Vishanti and all those stuff are not as powerful as Eternity. So it's going to be dicey. It's going to be dicey. You probably need, if you're going to use magic, you probably need to like sign a deal with like the Never Queen or something, another cosmic entity that is like that kind of Eternity level. So yeah, it's dicey. It's dicey.
I love this comment by Lady Kerrigan. We need the other media pulling up their Storm adaptations too. Like, no more Toad lightning shenanigans.
I know, right?
I mean, that's the cool thing about this run that you're doing, Rhea. You are leveling up Storm, and we're not talking about the whole Eternity thing by itself. You're leveling up her baseline mutant abilities. You're redefining refining it, showcasing it, giving her feats. We'll talk about the trials of Storm. You're doing all of this, and these are things that are canon. Like, once you do it, that's canon. And that's what makes this absolutely brilliant. And I think people will really get to appreciate this more over years.
Yeah, and I think if I may, I think it actually makes the series more relatable
Yeah.
to a wider audience because just like he was saying, if you look at the most popular characters, with the exception of maybe one or two, none of them are Omega level super powerful people. It's,
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Wolverine, Batman. People can relate to those kinds of things when they see those fights because like you were just saying, you have context for it. So even moments like this with a superpowered character, something like this is more relatable for people because they can say, oh yeah, I know how that might feel, or damn, that looks like that hurt, I can relate to that. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
really, I think that really has made a difference with this series, with other people coming in and being able to jump on board and liking it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So another big reveal. One of the questions we asked in the very first episode when you showed her sanctuary was, how does that thing work? Like, what powers it?
Mm.
And you were very coy about what powers this thing. And we have Beast walking somewhere. We don't know where he is right now, but we assume he's on the sanctuary ship.
Yeah, he's
That's the
inside the
assumption.
Thundercloud.
On Thundercloud. And he has found the source of the power.
I
This
love that
looks like
name, Storm Engine.
Mm-hmm.
the Storm Engine.
Yeah.
This looks like a little baby celestial. What can you tell us about what this thing is?
I can't say much about what it is, but just know that whatever it is, it's super powerful, it's super badass, and what happens when it wakes up?
Oh, so it's asleep. It's dormant right now.
Yeah, could kind of.
Kind of.
It's scary. It looks scary to me, which is the cool thing. It looks really cool and it looks scary at the same time.
Well, I mean that also raises some questions and red flags for me because I can't. I mean, above, on the sanctuary, Storm values life. Like it's literally a sanctuary. She has animals she's trying to preserve. She cares for them. She lets them roam free, right? It's a nature preserve. It's not a zoo. It's a nature preserve where they can freely, live their
Yeah.
lives. And this is, for all intents and purposes, it kind of looks like the servitude of an animal or a person or something.
Mhm.
You're using. You said this thing is dormant at the time. It's asleep or something. But it's being used for its power. That kind of raises some ethical conditions, some ethical concerns.
Um, in Next Man Not Omega, you would understand what I mean by when it wakes up. But I
Okay.
will just leave it that way to keep things mysterious.
All right. So that will be addressed.
Let's just say to wake up in Next Man Not Omega.
Okay. Well, to be determined, to be continued. So we assume, as I said, we assume he's on Beast, finding the Storm Engine, that he's on the Storm Sanctuary, but in reality, Utopia, former home of the X-Men. Now this is the base they had out in San Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So now we know the reason why Xavier wanted Storm to fly them to San Francisco. He needs something in Utopia. In NYX, he needed something in New York, in an X-Men base in New York. So now he needs Storm to help him get to San Francisco because he needs something in a former X-Men base in San Francisco.
So is this on Thundercloud?
This this is this one is on Thundercloud. That other scene is where the X-Men found themselves when they swam ashore because it's another storm threw them into the ocean. So this is where
Oh
they
yeah,
found
there they are at the
themselves.
bottom of the bottom of the page. Okay, all right, okay. To be continued.
So so I think these are things I think some people missed. That in issue one, issue one starts in Greymalkin prison, but
Mm-hmm.
Greymalkin prison is what the first X mansion, the first X base. The second one is in New York with the Krakoan era X base, the treehouse. This third one, we're going to the Utopian era, their X base, and it keeps himself in first one, his elements in the second one. So what is he going to get in here in the third one? And what is coming here to get has already been revealed in Time Slide. What is coming here to get was revealed in Time Slide. It was even already. It was even in the trailer for X-Men. To see it a little bit.
And this particular story continues in X-Men 13, which I assume comes out next month?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the trailer, the previews came out for those today too.
Oh, okay. This popped up in all the X-Men Hunt books. This little promo. Who is this woman? She's more important to the history of mutant kind than you realize, and you'll meet her in Uncanny X-Men 13. What can you tell us about this character?
I don't want to reveal too much because it's in Gail's book, so I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Okay.
But yeah, Gail's book is about to get, especially after this X-Men Hunt. The next issue, I think, is by Marquez. It's a Gambit issue. I don't want to give spoilers, but there's something that we saw in issue 1 that comes back and looks super, super cool. And yeah, it's a very, very cool issue. You're going to love it.
Issue 1 of your run or Gail's? Uncanny?
Gail's, yeah.
All right.
And she makes reference to things that happen in Storm 3 too, just a little bit.
So you mentioned Omega Maggott and how he is going to look and the changes in his outfit. First of all, this is not the first time I've seen Luciano do character designs. He's very good at it. Shout out to him for this glow up on Maggott. This Maggott looks 125% better than the Maggott from the 90s. He's got an outfit that makes, looks cool. Talk about this outfit.
We wanted to keep elements of what we saw in Storm 6. That's the boots, the baggy pants that gets tucked into the boots, the
Marvel needs to sell those sneakers, by the way, those boots. Like those would hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The jewelry on his face and then his glasses from the 90s. The shoulder pads, I like the shoulder pads in the 90s that had bumps but wanted to come out from his skin this time. And because now that they are Omega, the slugs have, like we said, we're trying to make them more scary. So the slugs are more scary looking and things. The hair is kinky as well. And now his stomach forms an X. So that's where the slugs go back into in a creepy way, if you get to see it. And his color scheme, because he's now on the same team with Storm, is Storm's color scheme. Storm's color scheme is black and gold. So he's also going to be rocking black and gold. And then we have a little touch of Ankara, like African prints on his clothes, like we like to do. So yeah,
I dig this, man. This looks good.
Stuff.
What is the significance of the red dots on his shoulders?
It's to look super creepy and disgusting. You see them more when they're in motion and stuff. If you see it in the comic, they almost look like boils, almost like they could pop and ooze.
Right. What can you tell us about what his power set is now that he is Omega?
Oh, it's still the same power set. It's just the whole upper limit thing. So it's still super strength and invulnerability and all those stuff. But now it can keep cranking it up. Keep cranking it up without feeling bothered about if there's an upper limit.
Well, I see the sort of Kirby crackle of energy around Maggott and Eenie and Meanie here. they kind of how their power set works. They eat anything and help to empower him.
Yeah.
Um, would that now include like energy? Can they eat energy to
It's a lot of things. They can still eat things, but now even if they don't eat anything, they can still release energy into him because they still have the egun also still in them.
Hmm.
And the egun has basically like unlimited energy that they can always release into him. So now if he eats something, it's just because it's by choice, like, oh yeah, you know, we don't like this, let's eat it,
Storm
it's
has
now by
eternity.
choice.
Storm has eternity. She's hosting eternity. So is Omega Maggott now hosting Igun?
More like it's not host in that sense, more like it's a physical prison for egun.
Okay.
So but it's similar, which is also the point, trying to see, what to try to do with your supporting cast and subplots is you see if you can make them go in different directions. Let's say Storm's direction is, oh, both of them, Eternity and Storm, could work together and be friends. La 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 la, they could be friends. Egun is never going to become Maggot's friend.
Right.
This is
Uh-oh.
this is an evil person that wants to kill the universe, that wants to destroy the planet. So yeah, so that's the dynamic. Want to have that separate dynamic.
With Storm's power, you see her shift from being Storm to being Eternal Storm, like back and forth as time's needed. Is
Yeah.
Maggott going to be just Omega Maggott all the time, or will he shift back to Japheth?
His power set basically is he can be himself, then Maggott. So this time he can be himself, then Omega Maggott. So there won't
Okay.
be a Maggott in between.
All right. And here you have some art from the upcoming issue 7.
So you can see all those blots on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Now
Is
they
is
look like
is Luciano
balls.
still your artist on that book as well? Next issue?
Yeah, he's the one drawing this issue. Yeah,
Okay. Wait a second.
and
Oh, I was to say her costume looks different. You know what it is? She doesn't have a
yeah,
headpiece. She doesn't have
yeah.
a.
There's no headpiece for the black costume.
Huh, okay.
It's only the earrings, and I think it was designed before I came on board. I like the headpiece, so every other costume that was designed when I was brought on board has the headpiece.
Okay.
So, who do you think is in the first and second panel?
Well, I see a skull in the second panel. And I also see a chain. I mean, I think skull and chain. I usually think Ghost Rider. So
Yeah,
and this is a cosmic book, so I'm thinking Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Cosmic Ghost Rider is the second panel. The first one is Beta Ray Bill.
Oh, Beta Ray Bill. Wow, I've seen him in forever.
Right.
And then Silver Surfer is coming towards
Oh, in the
its
center there.
Oh, that's who
yeah,
that is. Okay. Okay.
Whose
floating
sword is
towards
that?
that's from Daniel Warren Johnson's run, where Beta Ray Bill fought Sutter for his sword. His sword is
Oh,
always emitting smoke.
okay.
Hmm.
So you really
So
are going
we're
cosmic.
going to be paying, yeah, so we're going to be paying off that story big time in this issue.
All right.
Interesting.
All right. You've been talking since issue 1 about the labors of Aurora Monroe. You put here not casual superhero missions. Eternity is the valiant of Hera. And like the gods
Equivalent.
did to Hercules, the cosmic entities are already complicating Storm's life. The story with Hercules turning on his family. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I think when I said, oh, this is going to be the labors of Aurora Monroe, the Eternal Storm saga, I think people just thought, oh yeah, because of a lot of the cartoons, it's just going to be like cute little missions, oh yeah, go and get this thing of Citarac, and go and do this. Like, dude, don't let the cartoons fool you. The labors of Hercules are terrible things. They're called labels for a reason, you know. And it's the story starts with Hera messing up with Hercules' mind to the level that he kills his family, you know. So trying to say that seeing Storm fights the X-Men and it's creating a rift between them that's isolating her from them is the beginning of the story. It should have been expected, you know.
Yeah.
The fact that we did a story where she was cool and cozy with the X-Men in issue 3 is to kind of set the ground of, oh yeah, they are always family, they are friends, you know, saying that the X-Men are their family, are family. And now we're not going to say she's going to break away from that family, all because of eternity. Eternity is the era in that story, trying to be the mastermind. And just in that story as well, even though Hera is the one that makes Hercules do the bad thing, Hera is still the one that Hercules has to please. So,
Oh, yeah.
and in
That's a good
in
point.
Storm 2, even though Eternity is the bad person, which is basically the universe, Storm still has to save the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Storm has to save our oppressor. Because if she doesn't save the universe, everybody dies.
Right.
So it's not, so when we're saying labels of Oromoru, it's not about the thematics of, oh yeah, she's going to be going and be doing these small missions and stuff. It's about what does that story mean at its center, and we're going to be bringing those components and bringing it into superhero fiction and see how we can make something mythic.
All right.
So I just needed to say that when a lot of people are like, oh yeah, they're brothers, they're not supposed to fight, you know, and this, and you know, thinking maybe it's me being shallow because I just want to make two people fight, you know. And it's like in mythology, like this is it's the breaking away from the family. And that's and when you break away from the family, that's where the labors starts.
Yeah.
Because you no longer have this backup, you no longer have these people that are going to protect you, you no longer
Yeah.
have that support system. And when you don't have the support system, that's when the trials and tribulations really hit hard.
Yeah. It was funny because a lot of people were saying, well, not a lot, but I did see some people saying that they felt like this tie-in was taking away from the actual story that was being told. And I was telling people, no, it's not. This is very much in line
Exactly.
with where the story is going. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, here's some panels from X-Men 13. Kane Markle fans will love this scene. This dude's
They were
had
loving
his head smashed in. He's been impaled by spears. And Eternity's genuinely surprised. Like, why are you still trying to get up? He's like, you think this is the worst beating I've had? I had an abusive father. This is nothing. You ain't stopping me. So I
yeah,
thought that was pretty cool.
people thinking, oh yeah, they're already nerfing Eternal Storm or anything. There's a story where Juggernaut was sent into the Oblivion Void and he died and somehow came back to life, survived.
Mm-hmm.
As that's how crazy his power set is. So it's that he's not nerfed in this story. He's been nerfed in previous stories that made you think he's just big, strong guy. His power set is, like you said, is this magical inclined thing so that he can actually take a lot of damage. He can take a lot of damage and still be, yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah. So now we've got some fan art.
Cool, find out.
There's a lot of talented fans of this book.
Mm-hmm.
This is dope.
Very.
This one hit 1.8 million views.
Probably has more by now.
Right. People love Sexy Storm. I think if you do a Sexy Storm red bound edition on a cover,
We will sell a
you
million
will
copies, man. We will
you
sell a
will sell
million
a million
copies.
copies. Clearly, you will sell 1 million copies with a Sexy Storm on a cover. I don't know if Marvel will allow that, but tell them money talks.
When it talks.
And my preference is that Doton gets to do it. That's just me.
Yeah.
Because he
Or
does.
maybe Antoine might actually buy the million copies himself.
Here's our Marvel Rivals homage. Everyone's playing Marvel Rivals right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dope.
It's a fun
And this-
game.
And Storm's looking kind of thick here. She's super thick.
Hella thick.
Hella thick. No problems with that. Here's one from an actual professional artist, Mike McCone. Shout out to Mike McCone.
Mm-hmm.
They are all professional artists, Paul.
These are all professional artists. Well, this is one that I know from comics.
This is what you know.
Mike McCone has done a lot of stuff with Punisher. My next 99 art drop will be on March 1st at 2 p.m. All right. Well, this is dope.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Reminds
my
me
favorite.
of- yeah, I love this.
This one's my favorite.
Milo Manara. That previous art kind of reminds me of a little of Milo Manara for a reason. I don't know why.
The Mike McCone piece, this one?
Yeah, I think maybe because of the way it's colored.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. This was my favorite one. This is art. From the clouds, the concept of her being the eternal storm is on display here.
Yeah.
You've got her with the little hurricane in between her hands, which is cool. But the thing with the hurricane, right? Is it truly a hurricane or is it a galaxy? Because they're both shaped the same, if you realize. The shape of a hurricane and the shape of the galaxy are exactly identical.
Mm-hmm.
So you're wondering, what is she shaping? So that's kind of cool. And then the clouds are around her, but there's also the clouds of hair, and there's stars in the background.
Yeah.
This is a true eternal storm.
Yeah. I think one of the best things that's happened recently is them really going in the direction of getting protected hair, because it looks like a cloud. It's like, why did nobody think of this soon?
Right. I'm glad it's really taking. A lot of people are doing that now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take questions from the chat. People have been patiently waiting for their questions. Let's go. Bernardo Gomez. Jed will write Eternal Storm in X-Men 13 and in future Avengers, right? Did he ask for a description of what she can and cannot do? Eternal Storm is currently in your possession, authorship.
Yes, we were in the same Discord, and he asked about Omega Maggott as well, and he asked about Storm, and yeah.
You Marvel writers have your own Discord?
No, just the X ones.
Just the X ones? See, I've been saying this, man. I know the X offices are like its own little clique. I've been saying that for years. Thank you for confirming that. Eclectic Blurty needs question: does Eenie and Meanie consuming the condensed essence of a goon mean that can potentially devour mystical entities, demons, etc.? That's a good question. Eclectic always got the hot questions. Damn, I love this guy's questions.
Yes, that's
You know, it's a good question. You know, it's a good question when Moreo goes,
I think if they're intangible, they can't. But if something can make them tangible, which is what Eternity basically did by making them a physical form, and Aegon is actually tangible too. So if it's tangible, they can consume it no matter what they are.
Okay. Dr. Wizard, what's our next question? Dr. Wizard, are you asleep again?
So yeah, magical entities, whatever. Yeah, if they can eat it, they can metabolize it. Yes.
All right, let me try and fit it. There he is. Good evening, Mr. Iodeli. A rather silly question. Are you afraid that another writer will write a weak, nerfed Eternal Storm? Or will the other writers follow your line of reasoning? That's part one.
I used to be worried about that, but Dotun said, like as long as it's not like affecting your own series, like if you nerf a character, here's the thing about nerfing characters. You don't necessarily hurt the character, you only hurt your own story. If you look at the fact that we've been writing guest stars in this series, we've been trying as our best to make sure that all the guest stars feel big and epic. And it's been epic in the series. Because it just feels like, man, when anybody shows up, it's going to be epic, it's going to be badass, it's going to be nice, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. So, because of what you've been seeing, even if you're not a Thor fan, if you hear that Thor is coming, you're like, yeah, it's going to be epic, because if this particular person's appearance, if Maggott's appearance was this engaging, imagine when it's Thor, or imagine when it's this, imagine when it's Silver Surfer, So it helps your story. So if you nerf a character in your story, it hurts your story. So that's why when people say, oh yeah, when you have Phoenix in your book, you're going to nerf her to make Eternal Storm, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't make sense. If I nerf Phoenix in my book, it's just going to make me look like a bad writer. Like, dude, Phoenix can do so much more than what you're making her do in this book. Like, this is nonsense. So nerfing a character doesn't hurt a character, because the character exists in other books where they will be elevated again. So it only hurts the writer's career. So,
oh my God, I like how Morea just low key threw shade at any writer that would attempt to nerf Storm. This is what my brother said. My man's got bars. He goes, if you nerf the character, you're only nerfing your own writing, your own story. In other words, if you don't have the creativity to take what I did and run with it, you're just a weak writer. That's on you. That's on you. That's the interpretation, the translation of what this brother just said.
You're gonna get us in trouble on Twitter.
He just
Paul.
threw the gauntlet down. He's like, I dare you. I triple dog dare you to nerf what I've done with Storm, and you think you're gonna have a good story. I dare you. That's what he did. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Is Storm helping Chuck to help Xandra? That's a good question, because he never mentioned Xandra in the stories. Does she even know that Xandra's his motivation?
The major reason, there are different reasons why Storm helps, and we're going to hear that in X-Man Not Omega. But as Storm 6 is concerned, the major reason why Storm helps Chuck is because of the statement he made about resurrection. And if you know how resurrection during the Krakoan era works, there's somebody, I think I'll have to eventually just say it. That means there's somebody in an egg somewhere. That's the worst experience you would want for someone. Somebody in an egg, the consciousness is all jumbled up because there's no cerebral, and that person is just there. So he needs Chuck to get to that person and do the needful. So it's because of the resurrection line. That's why Storm is helping.
My prediction is he's trying to resurrect Lilandra, but that's just me.
That's a good guess.
See,
that's a good guess. I'm trying to think who else is dead.
There's a lot of people dead.
Who else is dead that Chuck would care about?
I couldn't think of anyone. I thought Lilandra made the most sense, and
Lilandra does make sense.
And
it can't be Mariah.
Moria, maybe wants to reset something. Moria McTaggart.
Because that's how our power set works. And he could reset so that he's no longer the villain.
Yeah.
Because
Xavier is the villain.
There are different people we can revive, mutants and non-mutants.
Now that was a whole foreboding statement. All right, question: will the effects of them consuming be covered in the next X-Men tie-in or in issue 7?
Issue 7.
Issue 7. All right.
It will be there, but it's mostly in issue 7.
Is Aurora conscious when Eternity takes over?
It changes, and that's one of the things we're going to explain in that story. Besides the fact that in the issue 5, Dr. Doom was wise enough to be like, I'm just going to sit here, I'm just going to chill, I'm not going to mess with this chick. And while Cyclops was, because he's not aware of Eternity, Doom saw Eternity, is like, this is the best move, Cyclops didn't know about Eternity at all. So he went guns blazing, shooting eye beams, not knowing that, oh man, I'm effed, Maybe when they were shooting, maybe when they were like exchanging, ice blast to eye beams, he would have been like,
Right.
I'm
Then he
sorry,
started figuring it out. He was like, oh
I'm
my
sorry.
God.
Maybe
He did look
I'm
a little
sorry,
worried at
I'm
one
sorry.
point.
So yeah. So but besides that, um it's also showing that maybe Eternity is gaining more control over her body. And that's scarier.
All right. What's our next question, Doc? Does the consumption of a goon enhance his passive abilities, specifically his psychometry, recall, or telepathic resistance? Huh.
I think every of his power sets will be boosted. But yeah, his telepathic resistance is already airtight. I don't think anybody's getting through that. Which is why the whole Xavier tumor thing is not affecting both of them.
Yeah.
Like they don't just feel it. Storm is not, this is the difference. Storm is not naturally telepathically, I'm going to explain it in a later issue. Storm is not naturally telepathically resistant. She's not. Her power set does not make her telepathically resistant. People that are naturally resistant are like Gambit and
Wolverine.
I forgot the Jubilee, because they have this energy thing running constantly in their head, so it's always disrupting stuff. So they're naturally resistant. Storm doesn't. She has to consciously do it. So we're going to see that is one of the things that Storm constantly has to do to be resistant. She has to constantly keep energy flow running through her body. So it's why Storm always seems more self-conscious, because she's always asked to be in control, But for Maggott is just plain on immune, like it's part of his power set. His brain telepathically are linked to his slugs. Nothing is going to break that link.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Question: is Forge responsible for integrating the Celestial into the Sanctuary as its battery? Assuming it's a Celestial.
It's not Forge. At least I can say that. Sorry.
It's not Forge. Who else do we know that has that type of technology?
It's not one person. It's a group of people.
Boy, I wish there was some technologically advanced group of people on the Marvel that would have ties to Aurora that could do that. Maybe make her some armor. Lady Kerrigan says, question, what are those Storm plural licenses?
The direction I'm taking Storm on is she's an international hero. So not every country, because if you see Civil War, I'm sure in some countries they are like, dude, we're getting registered, man. I'm sorry. In America, for example, I think bounty hunters are allowed. In some countries, it's not allowed. So I see Storm needing superhero licenses in some countries. In some other countries, maybe she's an ambassador. That's how she works. When they were marketing this story, she's a mutant ambassador. So she's a mutant ambassador in some she's a registered superhero. For some, she has to have like not like a police license, but something of security kind of license where she has. So those are the kind of licenses that she has to be able to operate freely in countries. Because in issue 2, we see her, she's in Nigeria, So this is international kind of thing. So yeah.
She also probably have to have some type of uh, zoology or some type of license for all the animals she's keeping, right? To keep all those.
Yeah, we explore that. I can give a spoiler for that one. Um,
Ooh, that sounds like a
they
Black
keep
Comic Lords exclusive. Dr. Wizard. My producer's completely not on it right now. He's completely asleep.
This is a Black Comic Lords exclusive.
I start giving him crap, or he's gonna delete me from the system or something. What were we gonna say, Mariah? I'm sorry.
yeah, no problem. The hippos and stuff belong to like um other nature reserves, but they keep, especially when they're in their young ages, they keep them with Storm so that they grow older, and then she so she has a deal with some nature reserves in the Marvel U where she can keep some because she can protect them from poachers up there. So yeah,
So she's like a foster parent to these animals.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. How did I had this question earlier? How did Xavier get into the sanctuary?
Um, in the scripts, in the scripts, but I also understand that it might be hard to draw. In the script in Storm 1, in Storm issue 1, when the sanctuary floats into the air, it leaves behind gateways. But I understand that it couldn't be drawn in that panel because a lot of stuff was happening in that panel. But there are gateways at the ground level that you step into and then you show up there. But yeah, I'm decided to just free.
So
And
Xavier used the gateway.
yeah, and very soon we're going to be bringing actual character called Gateway and Manifold, which would also further help in bringing people on board.
All right, cool. Why is he in the kitchen? She told him that he tricked her into becoming an X-Men.
Okay, yeah. People are talking about X-Men Red, about where they left things off, and I think you also touched on that.
Well, I said Marauders. Yeah, it was X-Men Red. Thank you for the
It was X-Men
clarification.
Red. You also touched on that where um they left things shaky, where Xavier tried to read their mind, and also how everything that happened between them has been based on the foundational lie.
Yeah.
The foundational lie of um, you just saw me as a tool to be used, and Xavier's debates is coming from a quote unquote logical one of you saved the world so many times, and it's like, who are you to decide which one is more important? Is this mathematics? I was saving lives in Africa too as well, and so many things like that. And there are different aspects to this. Number one, there's a lot of time that has gone between that time and this time. um, there are a lot of more sentiments at play. um, she died, and when she died and she spoke to her father, some of the first things she said was, I saved the world. I saved the world so many times. And that means even though she's upset at Xavier, at the manipulation and so many things, she's still very proud of the actions she was able to take in saving the world. It might have taken her dying and meeting with her parents to realize that yes, it's a foundational lie, I hate it and stuff like that, but I'm still very proud of all the good I was able to do. And then finally, that person, either on purpose or not, that was able to give you the opportunity to do those things that you're able to brag to your parents about, now shows up. There's sentiments of, yeah, technically, I wouldn't have been able to do all those things without you. Let's hear you talk. Added with the old, she said she would help anyone that comes to the sanctuary. Added to the fact that she's in a very dark place right now. She's down. And so many things. Yeah.
Next question from Eclectic Birdie Each. Is Xavier's next destination the White Hot Room, since the resurrection eggs, or egg, the character, are no longer on the mortal plane?
I cannot reveal that. We'd have to read the X-Manhunt issues to find that out.
Yeah. Chris Viz, will we see Aurora reunite with her childhood friends from Cairo like Hakeem, or return to her ancestral home village to see her people? That's a good question.
I'm not sure yet. That'll probably happen in some later volumes that I've not broken down into more detail, but we'll have to wait and see.
How far ahead of you do you have stories like written?
Like I said, I have the general plot till the very end, but
Okay.
the issues that I've scripted, X-Manhunt kind of, because I had to write the X-Manhunt Omega and so many things, so I'm way behind. So I'm still in the second arc, while also planning the third arc at the same time. So it's really difficult right now, because the third arc is big, it's Thunder War, and Thunder War has to be massive. So I'm doing that and doing this. So it's third and second arc at the same time.
All right, I'll try and wrap up these questions so you can get back to writing, get yourself back on schedule. Collecting Birdie Needs. Does Charles truly care about Xandra, or does he care about the power and prestige she carries? Because he didn't know that she existed until recently, but he knew about David, but was always standoffish. Standoffish is kind.
Right.
He was a neglectful father. He was
Absolutely.
a deadbeat dad.
Yeah. I think this is also something that I also want readers to note when they read many of these stories. This is not just my story. This is just stories in general. I think we treat. I understand we should not treat characters too much like human beings, because they are characters after all. But I think it might also have it's people are not robots where the last time you power them off, they stayed there. It's always about context. Everything's always about context. And it's Charles might have cared. The fact that Charles has lost everything right now is adopted children. Most of them all basically hate him right now. Even Rogue and Storm that are like free him. I just saying free him is not because they love him or anything. It's none of the X-Men love him right now.
Right.
He's been in prison. He's been going through a lot and everything. And one of his children sees it fit that even though everybody thinks you as nothing, even though everybody thinks you as trash, one of them still has enough faith in him to say, "Help me, Dad."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So
Yeah.
it's always about context. It's always
Mhm.
about context. Maybe if Xavier was still sipping tea and all those stuff like that, maybe it would be like, I don't know, that's, maybe I'll send someone, Cyclops, go with Jane and go and save her. I'll be here, maybe that's what, Charles would do. But in this context, it's very, very different. He's been in prison for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Everyone hates him right now. And the only person that seems to have faith in him is Xandra saying, "Help me."
Yeah.
He wants to have purpose. He wants to have purpose again. And someone just gave him one. He's going to take it.
All right. So next question, Dr. Wizard. He's on his bathroom break again. I really gotta. You need to get a bucket by your chair, Dr. Wizard. Let's try this. Will Storm use magic to gain control of Eternity?
Um, Eternity and Storm's relationship It's not something that a magic wand will put away. It's going to be hard work, and you know, and it's not even just about Storm, it's also about Eternity himself. It's a journey for both Storm and Eternity. Um, Eternity hardly talks to his beings are part of him, but he hardly talks or interacts with them as though they are their own people, you know. And that's a lesson it we have to learn, you know. He sees Storm as simply a tool to use, and he too has to learn that Storm is an individual just as he sees himself. Storm sees herself as an individual, and so it's a lesson that we're going to see both of them kind of meet in that middle and learn.
Will you have Eternal Storm or Storm become a pure energy being, elemental energy at some point? Kind of how Phoenix encapsulates the gene. The gene?
Mm, not really. Eternal Storm and Storm is more like a fusion. It's not. It's not going to encapsulate. It's. I don't know how to explain it except show you in the stories when it happens.
All right. Will we see the Wakanda? Oh, wait. Steve, wait, hold on. Will we see the Wakandan suit again, or Eternity obliterated the suit?
Oh, we'll see the Wakandan suit. The suit didn't get obliterated. It's when
Transform.
Eternal Storm form changes. It's like magical girl thing. Your clothes basically go away. In Storm 5, we see her dinner gown goes away, but when she's in the sanctuary, it comes back when she's no longer in that form. So when she's no longer in Eternal Storm form, the vibranium armor will come back.
She's gonna have to
Those-
get that dress tailored before she gives it back to Rogue. At this point, it sustained some damage.
that dress is no longer Rogue's. We have gotten Brutal Storm in the Wakandan armor, but not yet gotten the cover with Eternal Storm. Can we expect one soon, if he allowed to tease?
I write cover suggestions, and I usually give more than one option. So I usually don't know the one that Matheus is going to pick. So I also discover the covers same time as you guys. So I also don't know. So we'll have to wait and see.
Will Eternal Storm interact with Galactus?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was very definitive. How much time has elapsed between issues 5 and 6?
Um, days, but not
Days.
much.
Okay. That's a good question. Maggott gain powers like Kirby swallow item or opponent in. I don't get that.
In games, I'm not sure how Kirby works because I don't play the game, but the way
Oh, the
Maggott's power works is maybe it can be just regular food and it can be inanimate objects and it changes it into energy. So if it's also a magical artifact or anything, it will eat it and change it to an energy that Maggot can interact with. So is the slugs are basically energy converters. That's what they are. They're energy converters. They'll change matter or any energy into another form of energy that Maggot can interact with.
It took me a second to get the reference. I was actually thinking Jack Kirby. I'm so square. Mireya, Base Storm can change into elemental form to boost her durability and evasiveness against an enemy. I think he meant that as a question.
That's a question.
Can she change into an elemental form?
I'm not sure. In this, it depends. I don't even know. Base level Storm is weird. Because when she teleports, she basically does change her entire body into almost like lightning and then writes it. It's weird.
Just
I'm going
say
to make her do.
we'll figure it out later.
We'll wait and see. Yeah.
You're struggling way too hard on that one. Will we find out what happened to Craig? And he says, "Ain't nobody care about Craig, corny ass Craig, man. Come on."
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully.
I need Craig to get a Dear John letter. We got Shango coming in next issue. Nobody care about Craig, man. Aurora's paternal family still alive. Her grandparents and cousin.
Who are the ones that T'Challa introduced to Storm? Are they the maternal parents?
Yes.
Paternal, yeah.
Paternal, the father's side from Harlem.
Yeah, so I think they are alive. But I think I'm still going to be limited interactions mostly to the father and mother, even though they are dead in this series for now. I might explore it later, but I'm not sure yet. But for now, I'm keeping it nuclear family for now, since it's the mostly new readers and stuff.
Let me just point out to all of you who were not paying attention. He said, "I'm going to keep Storm's parents dead for now." For now.
That's it.
Do we find out how she got the sanctuary? Because some people on Reddit keep saying nonsense to claim you're a bad writer that just added it there without giving any real answers.
Oh yeah, I'm on
That's
Reddit
just
too, so I'm on Reddit too, so I see all those stuff. I think the reason why I don't feel too bothered about it is I think we're in an age of an hating age. That's what I say. Invincible is one of the best animated shows right now, and anytime I put on Twitter, I see so many things. Oh my God, they are so misogynistic. They are so this, they are that. The animation is so bad. Look at the art. Look at it. And I'm like, damn. Like, we're getting one. Do you know what it is? Like, I don't know, maybe these people weren't alive back then. A lot of all these anime shows back then, they claim to be 30 minutes, but they're 22 minutes.
Mhm.
And for that 22 minutes, you have like 3 minutes of opening title of them singing. You have closing credits of like another 5 minutes. They'll do like a recap of like 2 minutes. And at the end of this, like, dude, maybe I only got like 15 minutes of story.
Yeah.
And these guys are giving us like 1 hour episodes of animation, like the way you get for live action shows.
right.
And season 2, season 3, almost like back to back. And and this is the dream this is what we've always wished for an animated show. You watch Invincible and you feel, and there's just always complaints after complaints after complaints, and you're like, we're not even talking about how good this show is and just enjoying things. And so I think what gets traction right now is complaining about things. So I think people are just saying things just to get their likes and to get their retweets and stuff like that. There's mystery.
Mhm.
Stories have mysteries, and you gradually build up to them. And that's just it. And like you saw in issue 6, I just revealed one little fact about the sanctuary. It's bit by bit. And we didn't even see the sanctuary in like how many issues? Will Storm be talking about the sanctuary? Would we be revealing about the sanctuary that has not even featured in the sanctuary is featured in Storm 3, 4, or 5? We've only had at the time, we've only had 5 issues out. And the sanctuary only showed up in 2 of those issues. And in the first one was when it was introduced. In the second one, that's when we find out that it has a place where she has a shower. She has a place where she takes care of the animals. They're not just like pets or something. She actually works to take care of them and all those stuff. And now we're in 6, we find out that there's a power source. It's gradual storytelling gradually revealing things about the place to keep things interesting. So it's not that but it's mystery and all those stuff. But what I found out is that I think a lot of people too don't read the comic.
Mm-hmm.
They are not people reading the Storm series.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that are seeing screenshots on
Right.
Reddit, seeing screenshots on this, and they're like, "Where did she get it from?"
Right.
And then maybe Storm fans are like, "It's not been
Yeah.
revealed yet. It didn't reveal it yet. Oh, bad storytelling, But if you are reading it, there is a context of mystery and all those stuff. So many people. So I think some people saw even the Juggernaut panel, and they're like, "Oh my God, they're just making Storm OP. She can do anything now." Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but people reading it are like, "That's eternity." Like, wow, we see, like, that's eternity. This is not base level Storm. Like, that's eternity. But they're not reading it. They're just seeing screenshots and then writing articles about it. So
Mm-hmm.
once you
You have a
realize
ve- you
that,
have a very
it stops bothering you.
you have a very even keel dealing with these fans that are out there. You have a lot more patience than I do. Question: you said the fourth arc hasn't been confirmed yet, but are confident it will be based off the current sales and how it's received in the X office. That's not really a question, but I guess to phrase it as a question, do you feel confident there will be a fourth arc?
Um,
He's asking
I
you to
hope
jinx
so.
yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep taking it bit by bit. I just want to get the third act written and everything, but I think there will be a fourth arc. I think so.
Knock on wood. Next question. Who would win this battle? Eternal Storm versus Anissa from Invincible, the show.
So now Storm kicks everybody's ass.
Thank you. That was an easy one. Next one. Paul, the question from Lita and Trish is for you. Who's Lita and Trish? So inquiring minds want to know why you ain't asked Jet about her and T'Challa. Well, I didn't ask it on air. That's my answer.
Called out.
Not everyone's necessarily going to be happy with the answer. What's the next question? Isn't Lita Trish someone said like Lita Trish they're somebody's baby daddy?
What?
I saw that somewhere in things. Leave my baby daddy alone? That was weird. Anyway, what's our next question, Dr. Wizard?
That's all.
That's it. That's everything. All right. He's good.
That's cool.
All right. So
This was a fun one. Very fun.
this was a fun one because you wrote a fun book. Everyone enjoyed it. It has been overwhelmingly positive reviews from what I've seen.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about issue 7? What can your fans expect?
I'm trying to see if we can replicate giant size X-Men 1 kind of level of hype, but for the Storm franchise. And so I hope it works.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see it. Until next time, chat, thank you very much. Please like this video. Let's get our likes. Everyone just hit the like button right now. Everyone, please just hit the like button right now so we can keep this stuff going. Share the video across your social media. Even after it ends, go ahead and share it on your social media and subscribe to the Black Comic Lords channel.
Yeah.
Maria?
One more thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, let's keep talking about the book. Because I think a lot of people want the book to fail for some reason. I have no idea. But let's keep talking about the book. Share panels that you love. Share your favorite moments. Just talk about. You don't have to lie about anything. Just tell the moment you like about the book. Share it. tell people about it. Let's keep the hype train going. The book did very well on Amazon, so we're waiting for the sales record in the comic shops. It was number three. It was number three of the new books, I think, throughout like Wednesday and Thursday. It became four, but the number one book is not out yet, so it's still like the third book. It's doing really well. It has the second most number of reviews and ratings, only second to the Ultimates. It has more than Uncanny, it has more than NYX and everything. So it's doing well. Let's continue pushing it. Let's continue talking about the book. Let's review it. Let's criticize it. Let's talk about, let's keep the conversation going about the book and have fun with it, with the material, And yeah, let's see each other in issue 7, which is the celebratory issue of Storm, where she will be 50 years old. So yeah, it's a collect.
So issue
it should be
7 is the
collectible.
celebration. Okay. Storm
Yeah.
turns officially 50 in the next issue. Time to celebrate. To that end, there was a Storm Life Dream book that came out last month, largely written by Angelique Roche. We did a video with her and Maria last month. Please check out that video on our YouTube page. Great stuff. It was a Storm celebration issue, and it was kind of our mini Storm celebration as well. But that's huge. I forgot that next month was the actual Storm birthday. So that's
you'll see the 50 logo on it and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And the fact that her book is doing well
Yeah.
during her 50th anniversary, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's
Number 5 was, what was number 5? I think number 5 was number 30 for the top 50 books of the month. So
that's outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And there were lots of new books because of One World Under Doom. So there was a lot of issue number 1s, but it was still top 30.
So
and
everyone,
top 30 for like 5 issues now.
Keep hitting up your LCS and pre-ordering all the upcoming issues for Storm. Pre-order. If you want to do even better, just ask your LCS to give you a subscription to the book. Mm-hmm. So they will automatically pull those books for you. Those are the votes that count. It's literally voting for the success of the book by pre-ordering. So please do that. Thank you, God Visions, for their super chat. What is his thoughts on how Marvel treats Black Panther and Storm? That's a whole hour conversation.
It's complicated. I think, like people compare them to Reed and Sue, but Reed and Sue are in the same office, but Black Panther and Storm are not in the same office. So it also depends on who the editors are at that moment.
Yeah.
If the editors are friends, something could work. If the editors are enemies, or competitors, that also means it's not going to work. If Marvel is trying to make a project work with BP and Storm, but they're also in the hands of like different creative teams in the movies, it also might affect the comics. So there are a lot of things surrounding it that makes it very, very complicated. That it might not be as complicated if, for example, if Black Panther was, let's say, an X franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It would have. So a lot of things complicates the relationship. So we'll probably see, I don't want to jinx it, but it might be ups and down over the years depending on who the creative team or the editors in charge are, or what the plans for the franchises outside of the comic industry and how it works. Let's say there's a video game with Storm and T'Challa that is doing well, and there's a show that is doing well. It will probably show up in the comics too, and the editors are also working together. So yeah, it's that.
That is the most real and accurate answer you'll ever get on that topic.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people that still won't accept it, and I can't really address that beyond that. It is complicated. That's not me saying I agree with it. That doesn't mean I'm not wishful for what I want and what many Black Panther fans and Storm fans and Choro Forever fans want. But At the end of the day, these are corporate properties. And as Maria said, these are two different editorial offices, and they don't always like each other. They don't always vibe, right? They have their own agendas and things that they want to do. The best example I could give of that was Jonathan Hickman, the guy who literally can walk into Marvel office and say, I have an idea for a book, and they immediately give him a blank check and say, you have as long as you want to make that story work. That guy. He wanted to make Storm and T'Challa have a child together, and he got overruled. Who overrules Jonathan Hickman? Nobody overrules Jonathan. He's Jonathan friggin' Hickman, and he got overruled.
Yeah.
So understand how complicated this is.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right. I'm not excusing it, but that's the reality of our situation. So, on that note, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next month for the next episode of Stormwatch. Black Comic Lords, we got you.